Hello and welcome to the Empathy Podcast. This podcast seeks to explore the minds of those who not only understand or experience empathy, but of those who wish to take action, build, and practice empathetic behavior through conscious decision and responsible lifestyle choices. So if that sounds like something you might be interested in, this podcast might be just for you. So sit back, relax, and use what you were born with, empathy. All right. Hello and welcome to the Empathy Podcast. We're sitting here with someone that's joining us all the way from Chicago, and her name is Stephanie Morgyn. She's a yoga teacher, a wellness blogger, social media strategist, motivational speaker, and most recently, a vegan health coach from Chicago. She left her corporate 9-to-5 job to pursue a career in wellness and has never looked back. She's an avid animal lover and has made it her life's mission to help others transition to a vegan lifestyle and to become the happiest and healthiest version of herself. So before we jump right into it, and we jump right into getting to know you on a deeper level, I have a couple quick questions that I'm going to ask you to start the podcast right off. So the first one I have for you is, what does empathy mean to you, with the theme of our podcast being empathy?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm so excited to be here. And I guess empathy to me is truly being able to put yourself into somebody else's shoes. I think that empathy is one of those really important human emotions that you can show compassion for somebody or something other than yourself, even if their situation is, really different than your own situation. I've always considered myself to be an empath, which is a good and a bad thing. It means that I'm very sensitive to other people's emotions. I absorb emotions, energy in the room. I'm very in tune with that. Which can be like a superpower at times, but it's also very emotionally draining. I'm sure you know. Being able to, constantly thinking about what other people are feeling. But, in certain situations, especially situations of injustice or of suffering, I'm really driven to help people because of that and to understand their perspectives and to help them make it right. In regards to veganism, I think that having compassion for all living beings, whether it's an animal or a human, having that compassion and understanding, no matter what situation, no matter who it is, they have two legs or four.
Yeah, absolutely. I think some people might have the understanding, to be empathetic or to understand what that means. But I think it's a whole nother thing to put it into practice. And that's why talking to someone like you is someone that puts it into practice on a day-to-day basis, that not only practice it in their own life, but also shares it with others to help others also see this way of life as well. Because I think that you're right, it's kind of like a superpower or something that we are born with. And I think that a lot of things in society teach us not to have empathy and not to care about certain things. Even if you look in school, it's always the cool kids are the ones that just don't care, right? It's cool to not care. And
right.
So we're trying to teach people that no, it's a cool thing to care, and caring for others and the planet and animals is all connected, and we need to make sure that we focus on that. Absolutely. So my next question for you is, why did you start a TikTok? Because TikTok is something that a lot of people think is just for kids. It's just for people that are just want to have fun. It's just for goofing off. It's just for dances. It's just for lip sync or music, right? But you're not a kid, right? And you're not someone that's maybe just dancing all the time, right? You're able to share, your message, and you're able to share business practices and all kinds of different things on the TikTok. So what made you start that?
Yeah. So I was actually a little bit late to the TikTok game. I downloaded TikTok originally at the start of the pandemic. It was a couple months ago. We had the stay-at-home order, and I was kind of bored. I heard about this app, and I was like, I don't know. I had seen people, cross-promoting their TikToks on their Instagram, and I was like, these are kind of cool. I'll just check it out. I downloaded the app and was pretty much instantly hooked. It's such a unique platform. I had no idea how much I would love it at first, but it's so different in the fact that, organic reach is so much more available than any other platform, not on Facebook, not on Instagram, not on Twitter. nothing compares to the reach that you can have on TikTok. And I think that was one of the main draws. I also really liked that people are really authentic on TikTok, whereas Instagram, it's supposed to have like a really like poised feed, it's a lot of like posing and fakeness, I guess. And TikTok was really authentic. People were not afraid to be silly and to, be their real selves. So that was really fun for me. And so at first I didn't really get it. I was kind of sharing just like random videos about things that I liked about yoga, about marketing. I wasn't really niche until I started posting a little bit about veganism. And I've been vegan for a couple of years and I'm really passionate about it. And those videos just took off. People were so interested in chatting with me. I got a lot of comments, a lot of feedback, and it was just really cool. I started getting follows from other vegans in the community, and that's hard to find on any other platform too. I feel like even Instagram, there's not a huge community of it. At least it hasn't hit for me there. But on TikTok, I was able to find a lot of people in that niche who were very specific, and that we all kind of got each other. Even non-vegans wanted to have conversations with me. And so that was really cool. And that was something that I had never really experienced before on any other platform either. So, it was an opportunity to kind of educate and spread awareness about the things that I loved. And I just kept doing it. I was posting daily, and here we are. That's how I met you. I've met so many incredible people through TikTok. It's like by far my favorite app.
Yeah, I feel like you're right about Instagram in the way that like you kind of have to pose. I mean, it's designed for like filtered pictures and everything looks like so pretty and perfect and pristine. But also I feel like it's very individualized. It's like it's my Instagram account and there isn't like a lot of growth or collaboration or working together. There's some, don't get me wrong, there's some. But I feel like TikTok, the vegans kind of work together. And it's like a mini community where they root for each other. There's no competition. They push each other up. They're, supporting each other in the comments. It's like we have each other's back, kind of thing. And then like trends and ideas come and like someone uses that idea and then maybe you get the idea and you want to try something similar. That's maybe the same sound, but like a little bit different message. And I think that we all kind of feed off of each other in a really well way. And I don't know if that'll go away, but that's definitely a nice little something that I didn't expect. Kind of
Same. Yeah, being able to have people come in the comments. I have other vegans coming to help me, talk to non-vegans or people, we're all having conversations together. And it's just this little community that I never expected to have and I could never have found on any other platform.
Yeah. And it's weird too, like how if you share like a video from TikTok or whatever to like a Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever, like not always, but it's interesting how some people will just gravitate towards those and really love those. Like on my Instagram personally, like before I started posting my TikTok stuff on Instagram, like, I'd get a normal amount of likes or comments or whatever, kind of average or whatever, or like followers, not kind of very slow growth, like when I wasn't trying. And when I was posting TikTok videos, I noticed that the views were going up way high, right? They were increasing the views. They were increasing, the comments, increasing the likes, increasing the followers just from those videos alone. And it was interesting too, because I thought that maybe they would think this is stupid or silly. And I wasn't sure how people would react to it, but I kind of started to not care what people think. And I started to just say, I'm going to post what I think is funny and what I enjoy and what I'm happy with. All right. So
one of the cool,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say that is a really cool point because if you cross promote your videos from TikTok to Instagram, I post my TikToks on my Instagram story all the time and I'm getting more people, interested through that. I'm posting my TikToks on Pinterest, on my Twitter account, using this app as a platform to kind of push out content to other platforms. And I've seen huge growth in numbers just from that. People are really drawn to like that short bit of video, the 15-second kind of time limit. And I mean, it's just expanded all of my other platforms and people follow me on my other platforms because it's connected to my TikTok. So if you grow on TikTok, you're going to grow on all your other platforms too, which is cool.
Yeah, especially if you have things connected as well. Like if you you can connect your Instagram there, or you can connect your YouTube there, so that people can go directly from there, right from there. But also you could put a link in your bio, and then,
Right.
whatever else you want, people just go from the link in the bio. And if you look at your numbers, your analytics, you can start seeing like how many people are seeing, directly clicking onto your profile and that sort of stuff. And it's really good numbers and really good information and great traction. If you're looking on anything, whether it's business or growth, or if you're trying to sell something, you're trying to promote something, you're trying to almost do anything, like you have a really good opportunity there, especially if you connect with some of the trends and really what works.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So next question is, why did you decide to start yoga?
I wasn't really healthy at all growing up. I didn't really play a lot of sports. I wasn't very active. I didn't eat very well. Nutrition was never like anything I was really interested in. And so, I honestly, when I tell you, like, I went through college eating pizza, ramen, and beer, that's like pretty much what I ate throughout college. I was very lucky that I had a pretty good metabolism and that I had good genes. And it never really caught up to me until I hit about 25. And then everything stopped. And I ended up gaining a ton of weight. I went into like a really dark period of depression. I wasn't really happy with my life. I wasn't happy with my career. I was in marketing. I was at a digital marketing agency, and the corporate world was not for me. I ate badly. I was drinking a lot. I was going out partying and clubbing all the time. Just not taking very good care of myself.
I can definitely relate. I remember living that exact lifestyle, and a lot of people are living that lifestyle. And that brings us to today's sponsor of the podcast, Purium. If you're looking to transform your life, if you're looking to overcome some of these addictions, some of these challenges, I highly, highly recommend the Ultimate Lifestyle Transformation. It has all of your fruits, all of your veggies, all of your greens, all of your grains, all of the vitamins and minerals from real whole food sources, organic, clean, vegan, and regenerative soil. And it replaces meals. It makes it so easy, so convenient. And if you use the link below, I'm going to put a special video that I made just for you called the Ultimate Lifestyle Transformation Plus Brain. This is incredible. I'm going to put that video down below, and I'm also going to put the link to my superfood store that is the sponsor of today's podcast, and I get $150 off your first purchase. So definitely check that out. This is the most affordable, high quality food at the best price that anyone could get. So continue enjoying this podcast and definitely look out for that sponsor.
And, a friend had recommended that I try hot yoga because she said that it helped her lose weight. And I was like, sign me up, I'll try it. And so I went to my very first hot yoga class. And for those of you who don't know, it's a 105-degree heated room with 30 to 40% humidity. So it's a very, very hot room. And you can either take like a 1 hour, 90-minute class, depending on where you're at. And I almost died. I was dying. It was so hard. It was one of the hardest workouts I'd ever experienced in my entire life. I had never expected yoga. I mean, everyone thinks yoga is this very calming and chill thing. No, it was so difficult. And I left that class and I was just dead. But I don't know, something I never had felt so good in my own body as I did after I finished that class. I don't know if it was the release of endorphins or just my body was just craving that movement, but it changed everything for me. And that was it. I was hooked, and I started going, once a day, sometimes even twice a day, sometimes even 3 times a day. I was all about the yoga. I was obsessed with it. And, it was cool because I started realizing that things in my life were changing too. I would stop going to the clubs till 5 a.m. because I wanted to be in bed by 10 p.m. so I could be up for my 7 a.m. class, different things that I was taking better care of myself about what I ate, how I, what I did with my time. And I was meeting amazing people in the community and finding relationships that I had never really been able to find anywhere else. And so after a couple months of that, I decided that I wanted to go through teacher training. And so I did a 200-hour yoga teacher training class. And it was pretty intense. The yoga teacher training is not a joke. Like, you learn a lot of information. It took about 6 months to get through. So it was a great opportunity, and I'm currently 200-hour certified. But, for me, I wanted to be able to give back to other people what yoga had done for me. And that was why I became a teacher. And it was like the best decision of my entire life, because it's completely catapulted everything in my life to where it is right now. Just because I started my blog because I wanted to share my wellness journey. Like I said, I stopped drinking. I was just making better decisions. And then it led me to start veganism, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And then it started into like a whole new career path. So yoga has completely changed my life. If you haven't tried it, I would highly, highly recommend it. It's not an easy workout. Everyone thinks it's going to be so easy.
Yeah, I'm not flexible, so it's really hard for me. Whenever I do it, I'm just like, this is killing me. It's like, just like the things that everyone is doing that's really easy, like, that's the hardest part for me. The stuff.
Well, that's the part. It's like, no one starts out.
Yeah, I know.
Starts out flexible. It's just with practice and over time. But yeah, I hear you.
I know it takes time. But I was going to ask you about one of the principles I know is Ahimsa. And that means that's basically like nonviolence and practicing not harming others, right?
Yep.
Is that something that you teach and you practice?
Yeah. So Ahimsa is pretty much the reason that I went vegan in the first place. I went through yoga teacher training, and when you're in teacher training, you really start to learn about the history of yoga. It's one of the first things that we talk about. And Ahimsa is part of it's called the 8-limbed path, which is kind of, a way for you to become your most yogic and authentic self. And this was based in ancient India. And part of the 8 limbs, you have the yamas and the niyamas, which are your do's and your don'ts for living this yogic life. And without getting like too deep into that, yes, one of the yamas is Ahimsa, which translates to non-harming. And I really like that because that one really stuck out for me, because it can be non-harming, like don't kill your neighbor, don't punch somebody in the face, but it also relates to yourself. Don't hurt yourself, don't talk badly to yourself. And then it also extends to animals, which was something that was really, really important to me, and that really stuck out, was that when I heard that and I realized that, and I started thinking about it, I was realizing that I was not living an authentic yogic life by eating meat. And I had, been eating meat my entire life. And I kind of realized that needed to change. And so after I graduated, I decided to become vegetarian to start. And then a little bit later transformed into veganism. But yeah, absolutely. Ahimsa is such an important concept. And, you look at India. India has the highest, I think one of the highest population of vegans and vegetarians of any country in the world because of Ahimsa. That's a practice that's based in like Hinduism and Buddhism. It's something that's very practiced still today in India. And, they extend this kindness and this non-harming to the animals, which is so amazing and unique. And I'm just surprised that, honestly, that more cultures haven't adopted that, because, in Christianity, you have this 10 commandments, like you shouldn't kill, but only really in Buddhism and Ahimsa does that really translate to animals, which is really interesting to me.
Yeah, I think some of the challenges is a lot of some of the religions will say like man is in the image of God or something like that, and so then they dismiss all the animals, as if they don't have souls, right, or as if they don't matter or whatever. And I think that's where it leads to some of those challenges, when it comes to
right,
how we should treat others around the world, for sure. All right, great. So tell me a little bit more about your journey into compassion, into empathy, into not harming others, and how that related to like what was on your plate.
Yeah. So, for me growing up, I wasn't a vegan at all growing up or a vegetarian. I didn't eat well for the majority of my life, like I mentioned before. I ate meat almost daily. I never even considered going vegan. I can remember saying like, why would anybody do that? I could never go vegan. But when I went through this teacher training, I finally made this connection that food on my plate was no different than the animals that were in my home, my cat and my dog. I grew up loving animals, which is so funny because I never really made that connection on my own, which I'm always going to be a little sad about. But, I know now. But there is a connection between the animals that you put on your plate and the animals that we love. There's just no difference between them. And Ahimsa really helped me make that connection. I was vegan or vegetarian rather for about a year, and I had started kind of deep diving into what it meant to be vegetarian, why the industry existed like it was, the meat industry, and was pretty surprised because I had never been taught the things that I found. I started watching documentaries, Cowspiracy, Forks Over Knives, all those different documentaries. And I started really educating myself. I started following PETA. I started following different activists and kind of starting to educate myself on what it meant to be a vegetarian or a vegan. And it was truly after I started doing my own research that I realized that I was not living Ahimsa, my most yogic life, by being vegetarian. The only way I could have done that was to be vegan. And so about a year after I went vegetarian, I made the jump to veganism. But I'm actually really happy that I was vegetarian first because it's a hard jump when you're not raised that way. When you have such staples like meat and dairy and eggs in all of your meals and you have to take it out, it's a big jump. And so vegetarianism was a great way for me to transition out of there and to really become a vegan.
Yeah. So what do you think are some of the reasons why maybe you didn't know before? It was kind of in the dark, and like some of these things that you learned were almost like purposely hidden, from us.
Yes.
Like these aren't it's not accidentally hidden, like that we don't see how animals are killed. Some of these things aren't accidents. A lot of things are purposeful. So why do you think we don't know some of these things?
Yeah, I mean, it was very shocking for me to really figure out what was happening, and that's such a good point. It's they're hidden from us. We see images of cows on farms and it's happy cows, and there's a happy cow like brand out there of cheese or like Happy Farms or something. We always have this media driven image of what our meat comes from. Even my parents were pretty uneducated on the whole thing. People don't put two and two together that the cute animals that we love and that baby animals, these are the ones that we're putting on our plates. And I think, a lot of industries don't want us to see what's really going on because they know people would be affected by that. And a lot of farms actually have like closed door policies. And I think like some people have to sign NDAs and non-disclosure agreements, just not share what's really going on. I know PETA has done a lot of undercover work because they couldn't actually get camera crews into these farms. Because they wouldn't be allowed because they want to hide what's really happening. And when you allow yourself, it's so hard to watch these videos. And there's so many people that don't watch the videos because they're so difficult. But you also have to remember that if you can't watch a 5-minute video about how your food is made, then there's something wrong with that. And if they're hiding how your food is made, there's also something wrong with that. And I think it really just clicked when I started seeing the footage and I started realizing what was really happening, that these were not happy farms, these like cage-free eggs, like all the things that were happening. These were all lies. These were all just, smoke screens to prevent us from knowing how bad the real industry is.
Yeah, and what are some benefits that you received personally?
Oh, from going vegan?
Yeah, did you receive any health benefits?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I noticed almost immediately that my energy levels increased. I had clearer skin. I felt better. It's, I remember I used to eat steak all the time. And when you eat steak and heavy burgers, you get really tired and your body is kind of like, I don't even know how to explain it. You're just like exhausted because your body is working so hard to process all the meat and everything. And it's not
like
normal.
You're getting inflamed.
Much
like it's inflaming parts of your body and causing instant inflammation. Yeah, like it's working hard to like pretty much get rid of that toxin.
Exactly. Yeah. And I just noticed that, I mean, after meals, I was much more energetic. I never felt like so heavy that I needed to like take a nap. Like, yes, I'd be full, but I felt great. And like, that was such a big difference for me. And I even noticed in my own yoga practice, like when I had steak the night before I practiced, my practice wasn't very good. I kind of felt off. And it's such a weird thing that when you eat plant-based and you're eating healthier and you're completely cut dairy out of it, that I just felt lighter and my head was clearer. And just, there's so many benefits and it's like night and day. Honestly.
I had a similar like situation as you. Like I was about 25 when I was diagnosed with the autoimmune disease. And then I suffered for like 4 more years after that before I made a switch, but in that time frame, I was living in Houston for a little while. And in that time frame, I grew really large, really large. I gained a lot of weight, about probably like 50, 60 pounds more than I am now. And when I switched, that was something that just kind of melted right off, was a lot of the excess weight, the overweight. And since like the 50, 60 pounds or so that I lost, that stayed off. It hasn't gone up at all. It's pretty much been stable ever since. Is that something that you experienced as well? Because I know you were talking about how around that time you were gaining a lot of weight as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the weight just, I don't want to say it falls off, but it's so much easier to lose weight when you're just eating plant-based and you're eating healthier and you're more conscious of the things you're putting into your body. Like dairy especially was like, I felt very heavy afterwards, but when you're not drinking that, it's easier to have the energy to burn it off. And no, I absolutely lost a lot of weight and I've the same way, I've completely kept it off, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a common one for a lot of people. I know that there's some people that definitely will gain some weight or stuff like that. But I think that's a pretty common one. If you think about all the saturated fats and cholesterols and stuff that we were consuming, because I was eating a lot. I mean, I lived in America too, so I had a standard kind of American diet. I think the only difference in my region in Southern California was just a lot more Mexican food. And so besides that, you guys have more deep dish pizza. And so it's pretty much very similar, though, in most respects. There are parts of the country, though, that are definitely worse than others. Like, honestly, in the South, like living in the South and the way the food is there, like you're bound to gain weight. Like it's near impossible. It's
for sure.
Literally, the only options is fast food or Tex-Mex or barbecue style food. And that's pretty much it. Like there's some of the Southern style foods, and that's pretty much it. You don't have much else. There's not too many healthy options there. So yeah, that was definitely a big challenge. So I like hearing about the benefits, because I think that some people listening, might be thinking, I don't really care so much about animals and that sort of stuff. That's not really my thing. Or I don't really, care about maybe the environment, but some people are like, maybe I really care about my health, and that's my number one priority, and that's the thing that I got to fix, and that's okay. Because I was similar in that respect. I was kind of selfish before. I was definitely very selfish, and so now that I took care of myself, I was able to take care of others because I wasn't taking care of myself. And I think that's a good first step for some people, is being able to take care of themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the health benefits of going vegan are huge, and there's so much proof and scientific fact behind that. And people are just so convinced that we need meat to survive and that we need meat to get our protein. But the animals get their protein from the plants. That's how they got it in the first place. And people are just not educated on the fact that plants can give you your needed nutrients. They will give you the benefits. People just are stuck in these stereotypes and these ways of thinking that have been proven not to be true anymore.
The challenge is that when, like, let's say you just take everything that you've learned or everything that I've learned. The problem is that with so much information now, all of the information that we are getting is from like internet sources or books or documentaries or whatever we weigh, and that's fine. But the problem is that the way that everyone gets information, like in school, when we're together, when we're learning the same thing, we're not learning any of these things at the same time. So all of the things that I've learned or you've learned over the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years can be totally different on a totally different path from somebody else because they have their own learning journey, which is totally different. For example, maybe it was 2 days ago or 3 days ago, I was talking to someone that I was working with. I was helping someone with their garden. One of the things I do part-time is help people with edible gardens, organic gardens and stuff like that. And so I was helping him, and he's like super rich, like millionaire. And we were having this conversation about veganism and stuff. And he's a little bit overweight. And he was so surprised because my friend that I was working with is a raw fruitarian, right? And so obviously if you have like a vegan and a raw fruitarian, like the raw fruitarian seems crazy, right? In that person's mind, right? And like the vegan person is like pretty normal, you know what I mean? In that scenario.
Right.
But so what he had said was something like you just mentioned. He had said, where do you get your protein from? But not in a rude or like a total unaware, like he had no idea that the protein he gets was from plants, right? And I can understand that because I don't think I thought that either. Even I worked in the restaurants for several years. And so within the restaurant industry, we call meat protein. It's the protein section. When you're doing your inventory, it's the protein, you know? And so you always associate that with protein. And so for us to share with him for his first time, and he must be in his 40s, you know, maybe mid 40s or so, first time he learned, you know, that protein doesn't come from animals only. And so just hearing that, surprising that he just eats fruits and that he could get all the protein he needs, his protein requirements on fruits, was just mind-boggling to him, that he couldn't understand it. But it made me really, really realize that there's plenty of people out there that are just like this. There's plenty of people out there that don't know a single thing about what we're talking about. And it helped me also when I lived in another country to realize they don't even know the word vegan. They don't even know the word vegetarian. They don't even know the thought of not having an animal on your plate ever. Like that's never even crossed their mind. And so
yes.
The fact is we have a long way to go for educating, but also it helps me stay confident in knowing that that's all we have to do. If all we have to do is educate, then we just keep educating, because once people know, then the ball's in their court. But if they don't know, how could you get mad at someone for not knowing something? You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
Like that's impossible. Like, or it's possible, but it's ridiculous to really be upset with someone that doesn't know.
And I've had so many instances where friends have been like, well, why are you vegan? Why wouldn't you just be vegetarian? Like nothing bad to the animals happens, or nothing bad happens to the animals when you're vegetarian. It's just people don't understand because they've never been educated on it. I'm in school to become a health coach, and we're learning about, different facets of the nutrition industry. And a lot of doctors even are not educated in nutrition. They're pretty much just educated in how to treat things that already come in, but not how to prevent them. And nutrition needs to be incorporated into our healthcare system, because we have people that are eating, fast food and tons of meat and just aren't taking care of themselves. And, you can tell people to eat healthy, but that's not, at the end of the day, that's not going to help them. You actually have to, make a plan and to incorporate more veggies into your diet and fruits and natural things that grow out of the ground. And, especially with our factory farming process right now, today, I mean, these animals are pumped with all kinds of steroids. There's all sorts of, GMOs, things that are being added to the food. And it's like, yes, and they're just not good for us to consume. And it's no longer just, we're not, hunters and gatherers with a spear hunting, a wolf or whatever. Like, we're factory farming these animals, and it's just not healthy, and it's not right the way that we're doing it. So health-wise, absolutely, veganism is the way to go, and it's going to be the way in the future.
The problem is that if you were to do nutrition plans or you were to have veggies or fruits, there's no money in that. What happens in the pharmaceutical industry is that you have each prescription that someone is given, that's a benefit for the hospital, that's a benefit for the doctors, that's a benefit for the pharmaceutical company. There's a lot of benefits there. And then also the markup price is so high. So you can take the same drug that might be like $5 in Australia, and you can mark it up, to thousands of dollars in the US, and there's no one's going to stop you, And so if you could charge, if you could have something that costs you $10 and you could charge it for $1,000 plus, that's a great business. That's a great business model. And that's what's happening in the pharmaceutical industry. You can never charge someone $1,000 for broccoli. You know what I mean? Even if that broccoli had more benefits, than the drug, and no side effects, which they don't have any side effects. You might poop a little bit more, but that's the only side effect. And so that's the problem in itself, when you have that going into it. And so, yeah, I definitely agree. So tell me a little bit about some of the things that you're doing now in your own personal life on an individual basis to give back, to help others.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned before, I've started a blog. I went through my teacher training, and I've kind of, changed my life. I decided to go vegan. And during that period, I decided that I wanted to share my story and share tips with more people and reach more than just, my students in my classroom. So I started my personal blog where I share, vegan tips, yoga tips, mindset ideas. I talk a little bit about sustainability and just like things that I'm really passionate about. And that's been a really cool opportunity to reach more people through that. I love blogging. Obviously through social media, I've been able to talk about veganism a little bit. I've done my TikToks. My TikTok is pretty much completely vegan now, which I love. I think that is such a cool way to reach people, such a unique way. And it's something different. Like you mentioned earlier, it's not the same thing. You're not regurgitating information that you've pulled from an article. You're not sharing the same information that's already been circulating. You're sharing your own information on TikTok, and you're able to have conversations with people who may not have even thought about veganism before. It's showing up on your For You page, which for those of you who don't know, it's like your main feed of people that you don't follow. My videos might show up on someone's For You page who's like, I know nothing about veganism, but this person looks like they're having fun being vegan. Like maybe I should check it out, or maybe I want to ask a question, and because I've always wanted to know this about veganism. So we've now opened a dialogue, which wasn't available before. And that's the cool thing about activism. I think people have this idea that the only way to be an activist, or the stereotypical activist, is someone who's holding a sign and going to a protest sort of thing. But there's so many ways to be an activist. You can share videos online. You can talk to your friends and your neighbors, your family. Even being a vegan in general is a form of activism, because you're not spending your money on meat. Where you spend your money matters. And so if you're not paying for meat and you're not spending your money there, they're losing money. And even though you're just one person, you're one of a lot of people who are going vegan and not spending their money on meat. So there's so many different ways that you can give back as a vegan. It's really cool. And I love that we all have different lanes. You have a podcast, which is amazing. It's one way to meet people. And I have TikTok and my blog, which is another way to meet people. And, some people have TV shows or whatever. And I think that all of us together, we're all in different lanes, but we're all, fighting for the same cause, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think it's important to do what you're comfortable with, do what fits your comfort level. If you see an activist that, I interviewed one activist that was very, very brave, and she jumped into an arena, like a football arena. Well, we call it soccer in America, right? But football, people that kick balls, right, for the sport, that sport. She jumped into one of those, and they had 35,000 people.
Wow.
And she was holding a sign or a banner and running around the field, and the banner said "Right to Rescue," right, for animals. And so that was a very courageous act, and it made a big difference for her. But she's comfortable doing that. She loves doing that. Like, that's a thrill and that's excitement for her. And not everybody wants to do that, and that's totally okay. Maybe you just want to wear like a vegan shirt around, and maybe somebody talks to you every once in a while. Maybe you just want to put a bumper sticker, right? Maybe you just want to, get all the vegan makeup and just try it all out and just give your reviews on all the different kinds of vegan makeups and stuff like that. So you're right. There's so many different ways. And what I always say is all of them there are important. Some people like to focus on what's the most effective, what's the best, what's the this. And that's good to know for that individual. And it's nice to know. I mean, I like to hear what's effective and what works for people. And maybe I'll try that, because I'm the type of person, I like to try new things and try what works. And I'm comfortable trying new things, but I know that everyone's not like that. And I think that that's okay. But the most important thing is doing what's comfortable to you and what you find is effective, and really challenge yourself. Ask yourself, you can ask yourself this question, like, am I as what I'm doing really effective? Is it really working? Like, are you having conversations? Are you having dialogues? Are you having, maybe people coming to you saying, hey, I'm going to go vegan because of you, you inspired me to do it now. Are you having some of those things? And I'm not saying that that's the end all be all. You have to do what makes you happy, but it's okay to ask yourself, is what I'm doing effective? If your goal is to help animals, if that is your goal, and so part of this podcast is to help people learn different ways and different styles. If this is your first time listening to the podcast and you want to get some ideas on helping people, you can listen to a whole bunch of different stories from so many different activists that are doing a lot of different things. Some are doing things for the animals, some are doing things for themselves, some are like athletes. I interviewed this one guy who climbed Mount Everest. He was the first vegan to climb Mount Everest, and that was a really cool story because I didn't even know before that someone had done it, and he did it twice. So I think that was definitely a really cool accomplishment and something exciting. And somebody that's an athlete might watch that and say, I want to do that. Like, that's super badass. Like, I could definitely do that. I've been climbing mountains, since I was a kid. I'm going to go do that as my next feat. So, yeah, I definitely agree. It's the one thing that I kind of bothers me is when someone will criticize someone's style of activism when they haven't tried it. If you've done it before, like, let's say you worked for PETA as an example, and you worked with them for several months or several years, and then somebody else is volunteering for PETA and you have a conversation with them about why you don't like PETA. I can respect that. I can respect that because you tried it. You know what I mean? You tried it and you did it. But if you've never done it and you're just saying, I don't like them for this and this and this and this and this reason, or I don't like you and the style that you're doing it, that kind of rubs me the wrong way because you haven't tried it. Same idea with veganism, like saying like, oh, it doesn't work, or it doesn't work for me, or I can't do it, or any of these things, and you haven't even tried it. Give it a shot, give it a try, and then you can have at least a strong feedback on what you liked and what you didn't like. And then I wouldn't be surprised if you ended up liking some of the things that you said you didn't like after you tried it. That's what I've noticed happen. Like, for one organization that I volunteer for is Direct Action Everywhere. You might have seen them, and they do a little bit more aggressive style activism. And there's a lot of people that will hate on that style of activism. And they'll say, oh, that makes vegans look bad. This does this, this is that. Almost every single person that's ever said that, they've never tried it. So I challenge them to at least try it before they give some feedback or criticism.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think, there's something in the vegan community that there's sometimes judgment for people's style of activism as well. Like we're saying, I posted a TikTok video not too long ago. KFC just released their brand new vegan chicken, which is amazing and awesome. But I got a lot of bad feedback from other vegans who were like, how could you promote this? And like, I understand where they're coming from because, KFC obviously has contributed to a huge amount of animal slaughter. But I had someone tell me I was a bad vegan or I wasn't a real vegan because I was supporting it. And it's like, we aren't the people that should be, attacking each other. Like that doesn't do anything to help anybody. And why not just have a conversation about it? I support KFC making changes for veganism. That's for the better, and that's going to help in the long run. We have to make changes, and we have to start small. And companies have made bad choices in the past, but they can make better choices in the future. And we have to support the companies that are trying and that are putting forth the effort, and that may end up catapulting into something better in the future. But for us to say that, your style of activism is wrong and like you're a bad vegan, like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, we've all been there before. I mean, I ate meat for 29 years. I, participated in animal slaughter for many, many years. And then I made some changes for the better, and I don't see that any different than any other company. I think any other company can try to change for the better and can try to, do something better for themselves, for the environment, for people, for animals. And I think that we should support when they're trying to do something better, because if we don't, like, they're just going to stop it. Let's say that one, doesn't do well for whatever reason, that vegan Beyond Chicken at KFC, well, they take it off the menu. And the next time that something comes around, maybe there's the next, whatever's after Beyond that does a really good job, making some chicken substitute. They're going to think back to that time where it didn't work. They're like, it's probably not going to work again. We tried that, and it didn't work, right? So they're less likely to try it. But if you look at, like, let's say there's been restaurants now, then you could look it up. I can't think of any off the top of my name, but that have tried vegan options or made small changes, and now they're fully vegan restaurants. You never know the connection. What if the CEO of KFC one day is eating that Beyond Chicken and then for whatever reason makes some kind of connection with how many chickens that he's responsible for killing, and just says, you know what? I think this is good enough to make all of the chicken like this. Like, who knows? Like, who knows what could change? But it's like that. To me, it's a seed planted. It's a little seed planted. And also every single person going through the drive-through of KFC, the thing is, this chicken is for people that are already going to KFC. You know what I mean? Kind of, right? In my opinion, right? It might attract a few vegetarians and a few vegans for sure. But like, the most people that are going to eat it are meat eaters that are already eating chicken. Like, that's the same as the Impossible, same as the Beyond Meat Burger. The most people that are eating it are not vegans, and it's not vegetarians. Some for sure. So anyways, those people that are going there, they're going to be seeing this. So when they go through the drive-thru, they're going to be like, Beyond Chicken. And then their thought is going to be like, what do you mean Beyond? Like, wait, so is it better? Does that mean it's better than the one chicken that I'm getting? Like, do I want to get that better one? Like, why is it green? Oh, it's plant-based. And then then there's more questions. Like, how do you make a plant-based chicken? Like, I think just being there, like, opens up a lot of things. Plus the marketing dollars that is going to go into that. I could never spend the amount of money that KFC could on Beyond Chicken commercials. I could never spend that amount of money. I don't have that much money. So I could never market that much, vegan chicken or whatever to other people. And then some people say, like, what about the fryers and stuff like that? You know how many French fries you've eaten in your vegan life, your vegan career? You know how many times those French fries were fried in something that was fried in, that had meat in it prior? Like, a lot of times, and you might not even know, of those times. And so, yeah, but something that's fried in oil that had chicken or whatever in it, like, yeah, that's pretty gross. And it's pretty, like, that is some cross-contamination for sure, but it's vegan. Like, you're not adding any harm, like, directly to it. Like, even if someone, like, I don't know, put like a burger that was already cooked and they put the fat juice onto my vegan burger, like, it would still be vegan. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no additional harm was caused. Like, the harm has already been done pretty much, unfortunately in that situation. But I also understand totally where people are coming from. I understand if you never want to support a company like that. I totally get it. But it's very challenging because then it puts you into a really tough conundrum, because then, like, what do you do at supermarkets? Like, the money at a supermarket, if you buy a vegan product, they're still using that money to buy more meat product or buy more cheese product to restock their shelves, So it's hard. That one's hard because then you have to really cut out a lot of things that you don't support based on that logic, only based on that logic alone. And then I always say, well, how is it different from all the other, like, is Carl's Jr., that has the Beyond Burger, like, is that different? Is that the same? I don't know.
Chipotle.
Chipotle. I mean, if Chipotle's had, even before some of the vegan movement, I feel like they'd had their tofu for a long time. As long as I can remember, Chipotle's had the sofritas, and so I don't know. It makes a lot of questions when you bring up that point as far as other places.
Right. And I think, the thing with the fryer, like, it's all progress over perfection. That's always how I say it. Like, we are making progress by producing this product. No, it is not perfect. Will it be perfect eventually? Maybe. If we speak up and we're actually, like, talking about it and they know that it bothers us, someone sued Burger King for the same reason. Maybe, and Burger King has said they're going to make changes, that they're going to add an extra fryer so that people can have that vegan, their vegan meat. But if we don't support them and we're not buying anything, they're just going to get rid of it completely, and then there's going to be no vegan options. So progress over perfection, like, nothing's perfect, but we're working towards a goal, and it's baby steps. We're making small steps every single day.
Even if you look at, like, let's say the Impossible at Burger King, they are rolling out 3 more burgers because of the success of the first ones. So now you went from 3 to 4. Now you're up 300% increase, on vegan options in one restaurant, in a restaurant that has thousands and thousands and thousands of units. Like, the magnitude, like, is so much bigger than even opening 10 vegan restaurants. Like, the difference that they're making is bigger than, it's hard to fathom, how big it is actually. Yeah. I definitely agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the Beyond Meat stock. Their stock price is insane. It's like well over $100 now. They had, like, an crazy IPO. Like, it was like, they're doing great as a company because so many people are demanding it, because all these other restaurants are now starting to buy their products, because restaurants are making changes for the better. And, like, that's just showing how much veganism, like, is making a difference and making an impact, and that if we keep supporting it, it's going to keep growing and growing. It's not going to stop, which is awesome.
Yeah, we all love for everything to go vegan overnight, but we know that it's not realistic. Think of all the times that someone says, oh, what happens if we go vegan overnight? What's going to happen to all the animals, right? That same question, how you answer that same question, you answer the same way with all the other restaurants. It's a slow process. It's going to be one at a time. It's going to be a few menu items at a time. It's going to be a few things until, like, eventually, hopefully, in a vegan world, like, if KFC exists in a vegan world, right, it'll be a vegan chicken place, like, if they exist. If they don't exist, then they don't exist, you know what I mean? Like, it just is what it is. But we have to celebrate the progress. And the same reason I love those like plant-based news or veg news or Live Kindly or any of those ones. I love when new stuff comes out, and I love when I see the progress, and I like celebrating those progresses, because it tells me that, it's working. It's almost like motivation, because if I didn't feel like what I was doing was making a difference, like, I probably wouldn't do it. I like to know that I'm making an impact.
Same.
Yeah. All right. Well, is there anything else that maybe you want to add or that you want to share, or do you want to share where people could find you and reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one thing that we didn't quite touch on that I would love to just to share really quick is to anybody who's listening who may be, vegan curious or vegetarian curious, or is vegetarian thinking of going vegan. When I decided to make the jump to go vegan, I didn't have a lot of support. I didn't know of a lot of resources, but do know that there are so many resources, and there's so many people in the vegan community that want to help you. There's tons of apps you can find. I try on my blog to share a lot of resources for people to find to help them, transition to veganism. Sharing recipes and things, because you can say go vegan, and then when it comes to, like, what am I supposed to make? That's a hard thing too. It's more than just wanting to do it. It's like actually putting it into place. And, when went vegan, I would say one of the hardest things for me was the social aspect of being a vegan. And especially on, like, Thanksgiving, my mom always makes a turkey, and she's like very, very proud of this meal that she puts together for our family. And, you know, when I told her, I was like, I'm vegan, I'm sorry, I can't eat it. You know, she was very offended personally. And I didn't know how to to handle that. And it was a really hard time for me. So, you know, I'm in the process right now of becoming a vegan health coach. And that's one of the things that I want to do is I want to help create a supportive community of people who want to make the jump, but need that support. And I think that that's so important. You know, reach out to someone who's vegan, even if you don't know them personally. A lot of us are really excited to help out, and we want to share our knowledge, and never be intimidated to, you know, reach out, to ask questions, to do whatever it is, because we're here to help you. And it's a learning curve. Like I said before, progress over perfection. If you make a mistake, it's okay. You don't need to give it up. I know a lot of people are all or nothing. Oh wow, I just accidentally ate some cheese, I'm done, and I can't be vegan now. No, it's all a process. We've all made mistakes. We've all bitten into something, or chosen to eat something, and we're like, oh shoot, I shouldn't have done that. You know, it takes time to learn and train your body not to eat these things, but the long term, the health benefits, the help for the animals, the way that it just it will change your life completely. And if it's something that you're interested in, it's totally doable, and we are absolutely all here to help you.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. It's so important to it's important to know why, and a lot of people share why, and that's great. And then there's a whole nother group of people that are sharing how, you know, how to do it, you know, how to go vegan, how to do some of the practical stuff, and they're both important. You know, they're both questions that you got to find the answer for. You got to find what your why is, and you got to find your how. How do you do it, and why do you do it? And once you figure that out, it's just like anything else. It's just like riding a bike or driving a car or anything else that maybe was a little bit challenging in the beginning, but then you figured it out, and now you don't think about it. You know, now maybe you drive with your knees or something. You know?
Oh yeah, I mean, it gets so much easier, and that's one of the things that I used to obsess over. You know, it's just second nature, but it just takes time, and it's, you know, you have to deal with certain situations when you're at restaurants with your friends, and people are like, you know, are you going to eat anything, or can you eat anything? And you kind of feel singled out, or just being able to be like, yeah, you know, there's tons of options, being able to educate other people. Or, you know, I've brought my own snacks to parties before, and people are like, what are you doing? And it's like, well, I wanted to make sure I'd be able to eat, and just not to come back at people and be really defensive about it, but use it as an opportunity to educate. And that's something that it took me a while to get to that point, because I didn't like the extra attention on me, and that's something that you just kind of get used to over time. But being able to be okay with educating and talking to people about it, and you know, it gets easier the more you practice.
Yeah, absolutely. So where can people find you and reach out to you?
Yes. So you can find me on TikTok, on Instagram, on my social media pages at Stephanie Morgyn, and that's Morgyn, Morgyn with a Y. And then stephaniemorgyn.com is my blog. And I will be sharing a bunch of new information on my blog and my Instagram and all my social profiles soon. As I start going into this vegan health coaching journey, I'm really excited. I'll be sharing a lot more information on my social pages soon. So stay tuned. I'll be offering one-on-one group coaching. So it's going to be a really exciting thing. I cannot wait.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that sounds great. I can't wait for that. Well, everything's been great. I had a great time speaking with you. And this will be up everywhere, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts. It'll be up hopefully soon.
Awesome. I can't wait.
All right. Awesome. Well, take care.